Morning, everyone. I'd like to get our meeting underway this morning for the 25th of April. This is the Niagara Regional Police Services Board for Thursday, the 25th of April. Call the meeting to order. Any declarations from board members of any conflict of interest this morning? Not seeing any. I will move the next item, which is the previous minutes, which is item number 71 in your binder. I need a mover and seconder for the March 28th, moved by Member Stewart, seconded by Vice Chair Steele. Any comments on the minutes? Not seeing any. Show of hands in favor. Thank you. So that item is dealt with. I do have some items to read off this morning. Under my report, first I will start our meeting with our tribute to the Indigenous lands. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize and deeply appreciate the historic connection to this place. We also recognize the contribution of Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous people, both in shaping and strengthening this region in particular, our province, and our country as a whole. At this point in time, I would like to welcome our newest board member, which is Henry D'Angela. He is joining us as the citizen appointee from the region, citizen/community appointee from the region. Mr. D'Angela previously served on this board from 2010 to 2014 as a regional councillor and held the board chair's position for the years 2012, 13, and 14. He was reappointed by the Niagara Regional Council to the board effective March 28th for the remaining term of council. On behalf of my fellow board members, we welcome your participation and look forward to your contribution to this board. Henry, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, no, thank you, and it's exciting to be back, and I look forward to contributing to this very successful board and what they've accomplished, and with the group that's here working together to make sure that we move Niagara forward in a positive way.
Thank you. The next item is the Canadian Mental Health Association Niagara new facility. On the 15th of April, Chief McCullough and myself attended the Canadian Mental Health Association's official grand opening of their new outpatient facility in St. Catharines. And on behalf of the board and service, I would like to extend congratulations to our board member, Tara McKendrick, who in her role as the Executive Director of the Canadian Mental Health Association was a valuable contributor to the opening of the much-needed building. And it was quite the building to go through. I was very, very impressed with what was done there. The board and service look forward to its continued work with the CMHA and its community partners that work tirelessly to address mental health and addiction issues within the Niagara region. Tara, any comments?
Just a thank you to the Chief and yourself for attending. It was an overwhelming community response to the open house and the public tours, and a wonderful example of partnerships with the hospital, with policing, with EMS, with all of our community partners, and we're very excited and operational, so thank you.
And from what I was told, I think your public sessions went right up to almost 7 o'clock at night, your public tours.
They were scheduled to be between 2 and 7, and at 1:30 people started lining up at the doors, and it was a constant parade and nothing but positivity and excitement from everybody who attended. So, yes.
And again, I think that speaks well with the community having a focus now on some of our mental health issues and addiction issues in the region. So I think it's, again, all part of being good. So again, thank you for the invite. Next one is the building. Yeah. So the next item is the Joint Region and Police Facility Steering Committee meeting, which took place on April 23rd. I attended that meeting as my role as chair of the board's accommodation and facilities subcommittee. The site for one district is advancing well, and there's a lot of progress in the past 3 weeks on the site, which you can see from the photo which Deb was putting up on the screen. So what I wanted to show in this slide is what it looked like on the 15th of April, which was reasonably barren with a substantial crater in the center, to what was on Tuesday around the noon hour when it's basically totally flattened out. There were over 60 truckloads of fill have been brought into the site along with gravel topping to level the site. The construction trailer is now on site. I can also report that there's no electricity to it yet. There are 2 truck entrances, one on Welland Avenue and North Street, and the site has a more level appearance. And next will be trenching in the hookup for water and sewer and other utilities, which will be connected at the Welland Avenue end. Regular updates will be provided on this project as we move forward. The next meeting of the Joint Region and Police Facility Steering Committee is scheduled for the 28th of May. I will be in attendance at that meeting, and during the next couple of weeks, we'll provide further updates to the board on the construction progress. Thank you, Deb. On April 24th, Vice Chair Steele, Member D'Angelo, Stewart, and I joined the chief and the service executive team at the swearing-in ceremony, actually last night, of 8 new recruit members. And I must say I was extremely impressed with that group of 8, 4 men, 4 women. The educational backgrounds were phenomenal. You certainly have a really strong group of 8 people coming on, and I think that will bode well for our, what I call the policing mosaic in Niagara, and will lend itself to moving forward in a lot of areas, especially with some of their backgrounds. The ceremony was held here in the community room at police headquarters. Board members were provided the opportunity to meet and congratulate new recruits and their families. Our next item is the annual, our Niagara Regional Police Service Annual Awards Ceremony, which is going to be on May 7th. Police Service Board, the Niagara Regional Police Service, Niagara Regional Police Association, and the Senior Officers Association will host the annual awards ceremony at Club Italia in Niagara Falls. This is an important event that will recognize outstanding service members and fellow citizens who have demonstrated excellence and made invaluable contributions to the Niagara community. We also being recognized are NRPS retirees and longstanding employees for their commitment to this police service. I will be attending the event representing the board along with members D'Angelo, Gibson, Stewart, and the board executive director. Cross-border tug-of-war competition, which is an annual event. We must be in year 35 or more. Must be coming up on that. Anybody know?
I'll get that answer for you, but I think it's more than that.
It must, okay. So May 11th, members of the Niagara Regional Police Service will participating in the annual tug-of-war competition against Niagara, the Niagara's American law enforcement counterparts, and usually we win. Throw that out there. Last year commemorated the inclusion of a women's team. And if I'm not mistaken, they won as well. Adding a new dynamic to the tradition and annual event. Prior to the competition, the service will be hosting a barbecue at 12 noon in the parking lot at 4960 Clifton Hill in Niagara Falls, followed by an escorted march to the Rainbow Bridge, led by the Niagara Regional Pipe Band, where both competitions will take place beginning at 2 p.m. right on the international boundary. The march is quite impressive because the tourists, especially if they're not used to bagpipes, not exactly sure what took place, but it's a good event. All members and their families are invited to attend this event and cheer our teams to victory. Attendees at the barbecue will be asked to bring a non-perishable food item, which will be donated to Project Share in Niagara Falls. And everyone is reminded to bring their passports or Nexus cards in order to access the Rainbow Bridge. The Ontario Association of Police Services Board and the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police Zone 4 meeting, which is their quarterly meeting, which will be held on May the 14th at 8 a.m. This meeting is being hosted by the Brant County OPP at the Brant Sports Complex in Paris, Ontario. Members wishing to attend this meeting are asked to confirm with board staff. Christian French and Child Advocacy Center Annual General Meeting and Volunteer Appreciation Event. On May 15th, the Christian French Child Advocacy Center Niagara will be hosting its annual general meeting, which will be followed by the 10th anniversary Volunteer Appreciation Event. This event is being held at the center's administrative facility in St. Catharines with the annual general meeting starting at 4 o'clock. Member Stewart will be attending this event on behalf of the board. Other board members are of course welcome, so please let our executive director know if you're able to attend. Niagara Regional Police Service District 3 Open House. I know this is pretty well an annual event. May 16th, during Police Week, if I'm not mistaken. We'll be hosting the open house for the Welland Quaker Road Public School for students and teachers of grade 1 to 3. What always impresses me, they all have cell phones. Service members, including emergency service unit, forensics units, school resource units, will be present to engage with students and speak about their policing duties. And they always seem to want to see the cells, if I remember, that's one of the questions. Vice Chair Steele, members Gibson and Stewart will be attending on behalf of the board, and it is actually a pretty neat event that I've been to a number of times. The next item up is the Ontario Association of Police Services Board Spring Conference and Annual General Meeting. The Association of Police Services Board's 2019 Spring Conference and Annual General Meeting will take place from May 22nd to the 25th at Caesars Hotel in Windsor, Ontario. Sessions being offered at this year's conference are focused around the implementation of Bill 68, which is the Comprehensive Ontario Police Service Act, which was recently approved and received royal assent. The conference program is geared to provide educational and information on the bill's legislative changes, and members Vice Chair Gibson and myself and the Executive Director will be attending this conference. Next is the Auxiliary Recruits Ceremony taking place on May 28th. The Niagara Regional Police Service is hosting the annual recruit swearing-in ceremony for the service's newest volunteers. The ceremony will take place in the community room at headquarters at 7 o'clock. The event will provide an opportunity to meet the auxiliary officers and thank them for their honorary contributions to the Niagara region while serving in this capacity. Board members wishing to attend this event are asked to confirm with our Executive Director. I will point out there were a number of new officers last night who had spent a number of years as auxiliary members, so I point that out to the public that is an excellent opportunity if you want to pursue a career in policing. Upcoming Police Services Board meetings. The next meeting is going to be held on Thursday the 9th at 8:30. This is a committee meeting day here at Police Headquarters, and the next full board meeting will be on Thursday, May 30th at 8:30. A little bit different, this one is going to be held in the township offices and council chambers of Wainfleet. Just to give you some background on this, NRPS will be open the meeting with public presentations and provide information about local community safety issues. Members of the community are encouraged to attend and engage with both board and service staff. As to background, 3 years ago, the board held its first off-site meeting in Port Colborne in the effort to promote awareness in the role of the board and stay in touch with community concerns over policing issues. Building on that success, the board wanted to continue to be proactive in engaging, educating, and hearing from the public by holding at least 2 off-site meetings each year, and we have done that as reference for the last 3. In 2017, the board met in West Lincoln, the city of Welland, and in 2018, the board met in the town of Fort Erie and the town of Niagara-on-Lake. The meeting on May 30th in Wainfleet kicks off our first of the 2019 off-site meetings, and the town of Pelham will host our board meeting on October 24th. These meetings are set in collaboration with the local mayors and regional councilors as they recognize the value of having the board meeting in their council chambers so that their citizens can participate or inquire into police-related matters. By holding meetings at the locations other than police headquarters, it makes the board members more accessible and connected in different communities in our great region. And again, always remember that our board meetings are televised and posted to our YouTube channel. So other than that, that's all I have this morning. On those issues, I will turn it now over to the Chief of Police.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and good morning, board members. A lot of activities going on, as you heard from the chair. It's a busy time of year for us. If you get an opportunity, the tug of war, which is taking place, I forget the date now, but May 11th, is the 56th annual. I'm not bragging, I'm just stating facts here. It's of those 55 years, I think all but 4 we have won. So we're hoping to keep that tradition going, and this year will be the 2nd annual for the women, and we did win that one last year as well. Just stating facts. On behalf of the service, I would like to welcome board member Henry D'Angelo as well. Certainly not new to this board, and we welcome you back to the board. And on behalf of the executive leadership team, we certainly look forward to a very positive and collaborative working relationship with you, and welcome back. I'll start off with, we're going to do a check presentation this morning, and it's in reference to the 2019 Chiefs Gala. The third annual Chiefs Gala, which was in support of Victim Services Niagara and Pro Action Cops and Kids Niagara, took place on Thursday, January 17th. This year was our most successful to date, and we had net profits of just over $64,000. I want to thank all of our community partners for their support, including the board, and to our major sponsors, Rankin Construction, Niagara Casino, and the Americana Resort, who helped make this a very special and successful event. The net profits will be shared equally with both organizations, receiving $32,000. These proceeds will help fund existing Victim Services Niagara programs that assist people whose lives have been impacted by crime or tragedy and getting them the help and support they need. The funding will also assist Pro Action Cops and Kids in their skill building and mentoring programs that introduce and facilitate interaction between youth and police officers in a positive manner, creating trust, respect, and ultimately safer communities. I'd like to thank all the members and volunteers from Victim Services Niagara and Pro Action for the great work that they do. Today for the check presentation, we have the Chair of Victim Services Board of Directors, Deputy Chief of the Niagara EMS, Roger Mayo, and Executive Director of Victim Services, Ms. Tara Anderson. And representing Pro Action Cops and Kids, we have Mr. Tom Rankin of Rankin Construction, who's certainly well known in the Niagara community and is a board member for Pro Action Cops and Kids. So if I could ask them to come forward, and we'll do the check presentation. Sorry, the guest speaker was Theo Fleury. Theo Fleury gave just an amazing presentation, had a room of 300 people silenced as he talked about his past life experiences with sexual abuse and his triumph over that and the various demons that he faced in life. So Thanks again, Mr. Rankin and Victim Services Niagara and Pro Action Cops and Kids. Really appreciate working with those fine partners. Just want to talk about NSIU case closure. So on Friday, May the 18th, 2018, at approximately 7:56 p.m., police responded to the Niagara Health Center Fort Erie Urgent Care Facility located at 230 Bertie Street in Fort Erie for a report of a stabbing. When officers responded to the scene, they were confronted by a male with a knife, and one of our officers fired a shot from his service-issued pistol. The male required surgery as a result of the gunshot wound. The Special Investigations Unit was notified and, of course, invoked their mandate. The investigation resulted in the designation of one subject officer and one witness officer. In a closure letter that we just recently received, Director Laparco advised the SIU investigation had concluded and that there were no grounds for criminal charges against any officers, and there were no concerns expressed by the SIU director in his notification letter. In fact, in the notification letter, the director was very complimentary of the officer, and we'll certainly look to give him the appropriate recognition during our a future award ceremony. Just with regards to our 2019 homicide statistics, within the reporting period of March 27th to April 24th, we did not incur any homicides in Niagara. So far in 2019, we have had 3 homicides to date. If we look at our previous year totals, we had 2 homicides in 2018, 3 in 2017, 1 in 2016, and 6 in 2015. There were no fatal there were 2 fatal motor vehicle collisions in the month of March, and there were no motor vehicle collisions with life-threatening injuries during that same time frame. So our year-to-date totals, number of fatal collisions in 2019 thus far is sitting at 3, and in previous years, in 2018, for the entire year, we had 16. 2017, we had 18. 2016, we had 20, and 2015, we had 17. So we're certainly trending favorably in that regard. Just a little information about those 2 traffic fatalities. On Wednesday, March the 20th, police responded to a report of a single motor vehicle collision on Ott Road, north of Bertie Street in the town of Fort Erie. Investigation revealed that a Chevrolet Silverado was being driven northbound on Ott Road by a 32-year-old Stevensville male. The driver left the roadway, entered the ditch, and collided with a culvert. The male was transported to an out-of-town hospital where he's unfortunately pronounced dead. On Saturday, March 23rd, police responded to reports of a collision involving a pedestrian on Lake Street at Lakeshore Road in the city of St. Catharines. Investigation revealed that a Nissan Rouge was being driven by a 69-year-old male eastbound on Lakeshore Road, was making a left turn to proceed southbound on Lake Street when it struck an 84-year-old female pedestrian within the crosswalk. The pedestrian suffered serious injuries and was taken to a hospital before being airlifted to an out-of-town hospital. Police were notified that the pedestrian had succumbed to her injuries on Monday, April 1st. The cause of death was related to the motor vehicle collision, and the driver of that Nissan did not suffer any physical injuries. And that remains under investigation by our collision reconstruction unit. In the news, I'll touch on a large drug seizure that occurred in the city of Niagara Falls. Members of our street crime unit have been investigating the distribution of drugs by 2 individuals in the city of Niagara Falls for over a month. Police were able to gather evidence to support the grounds for search warrants for 2 residents and 2 vehicles. In a joint effort, the Niagara Falls Street Crime Unit and our Morality, Guns, Gangs, and Grow Unit, along with the assistance of our Emergency Task Unit, executed the warrants and arrested 2 individuals. In total, we seized 55 over $55,000 worth of drugs and $3,300 in proceeds of crime, as well as a prohibited weapon. Just with regards to a sudden death investigation that is going on in Welland regarding a 5-month-old, and that remains under investigation by detectives from 3 District. On Monday, March 31st at 6:45 p.m., we were called to a home in the city of Welland, and on arrival, paramedics assisted with resuscitative efforts. Tragically, the child was pronounced deceased at the scene, and detectives continue to work with the Office of the Coroner as we await results and further information from the postmortem examination. In February 2019, the Niagara Regional Police Service Central Fraud Unit, along with RBC Corporate Investigations, commenced an investigation involving identity fraud and the creation of several fraudulent bank accounts. As a result of investigation, members of our fraud unit executed a search warrant at a Welland residence. Evidence was seized and 2 suspects were arrested, with 1 female facing a total of 70 charges of identity theft. Investigation revealed that people's identity information may have been compromised through Facebook friends and possibly other social media. Members of the community who may be connected to the accused through social media were advised to check with their financial institutions and or credit bureau to ensure their personal information has not been infected. Since the summer of 2018, members of our 1 District Street Crime Unit have been investigating 2 males who were allegedly trafficking fentanyl within the Niagara region. Following an investigation and with the assistance of our emergency task unit, 2 males and a female were arrested leaving a motel in the city of Niagara Falls. In total, detectives seized 107 grams of fentanyl with a potential street value of $32,000, 3 grams of cocaine, and $6,400 in currency. Since March 2019, members of our Niagara Falls Street Crime Unit have been investigating a Niagara Falls resident trafficking carfentanil. Just for the benefit of the board and those listening online, fentanyl is 100 times more toxic than morphine, and carfentanil 100 times more toxic than fentanyl. So it's obviously a very dangerous drug that can cause death and certainly has caused death within our region and right across North America. Police conducted surveillance, made observations that were consistent with drug trafficking over the course of this investigation, and on April 15th, police arrested a male and a female in connection with this investigation, seized the carfentanil, crystal methamphetamine, and cocaine with a total value of over $18,000. Excuse me. On March 21st at approximately 8 p.m., uniform officers from 1 District, St. Catharines, responded to Brock University for a report of a shooting. Following an investigation by detectives with the 1 District, St. Catharines Detective Office, a 20-year-old male has been arrested in relation to this incident, facing charges of robbery, assault with a weapon, and aggravated assault. The investigation determined that 2 male suspects had confronted 3 Brock students with weapons on the campus. 3 Brock students were all assaulted. 2 suspects had already fled the campus in a car before the arrival of police. The 3 male Brock students in their 20s were located near a residence with injuries. 2 of the males sustained non-life-threatening injuries caused by a knife or edged weapon. The 3rd victim sustained a non-life-threatening injury as a result of a struggle with the unknown suspects. Just to clarify, there was reports that he had been shot, but he was not shot by the pellet gun. And all of the victims were transported by paramedics to local hospital. Detectives continue to investigate this incident and are still actively searching for the 2nd male suspect. And just an incident that happened on the weekend. At approximately 7:30 p.m. on Saturday, April 20th, our 3 District uniform officers were called to a home in the area of Pelham Street and Spruceside Crescent in the town of Pelham over the report of a disturbance. When officers arrived, they encountered a male barricaded with weapons inside the home. members of the Emergency Task Unit, our negotiators, K-9, and the 3-District Criminal Investigations Branch, our Traffic Enforcement Unit, as well as members from across the region, were brought in to contain and resolve the situation, while residents in nearby homes were evacuated or sheltered in place. During the incident, a firearm was discharged from within the home in the direction of the responding officers, and following lengthy negotiations at approximately 11:40 p.m. that evening, the male exited the home and was taken into custody without incident. No injuries were sustained during this incident. And that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Board members, questions of the chief this morning? Thank you very much. We'll move into the next component of this. I will start. We have a number of items in the consent agenda, running from items number 72 through to number 87. A mover and seconder to move that as block. Moved by Member DeAngela, seconded by Member McKendrick. Questions on these items? Member Gale.
Thank you, Chair. I have a number of items, but like we have done in the past, I'll start off with number 78 on the vehicle theft, if I can. And through you to the Chief. Chief, on that report, bear with me one second, it says cleared otherwise, and there's a lot of, a number of them, 125, this is on page 3 of the report. Can you give some examples of the otherwise, of why? It just seems like a lot to be cleared otherwise at 125.
So that total cleared otherwise is often used where there may be evidence to identify who the individual was that was responsible for committing the crime, but not sufficient evidence to proceed with the laying of criminal charges.
Okay, so that would be the majority of them, I would think, then.
In this case, yes.
Okay, that's the only question I had on that one, Chair. I have others. But.
Any other members on that one item? No. Member Gale?
Okay. Chair, the next one's number 82, the annual report on child pornography. And Chief, can you comment, or someone comment through you, Chair? In 2018, we only had, but still 107 is a lot, no matter, even if we have one, but 107 reported incidents as compared to other years, so it's going down, but criminal charges were 104. So should I read into that there's less child pornography because of 107, or should I read into it, heck, there's a lot more people involved, or at 104? Can you just explain, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the number of charges does not necessarily relate to the number of people that were arrested. So it could be, in this case, it would be that there were multiple offenses laid against. In 2018, there were 28 people, and in 2017, there were 28 individuals arrested. It's just more criminal charges were laid, more offenses were committed by the individuals involved in 2018. I would also note, as you notice in 2017, the number of reported incidents was at 145, so considerably higher than in 2018. During that time frame, we had a provincial project that was underway, as well as a local project, Iceberg, where there were multiple individuals involved in just a horrific child abuse investigation. So that's the reason for the additional numbers in 2017.
So through you, Chair, again, Chief, going down to 107, should I be happy, and I word that in a nice way, that it's gone down? Or should a project like you had, was that a specific project keyed on a certain thing, or did it encompass the whole child pornography thing? And is it a project that we should get involved in? Because I'm thinking with the explosion of the internet, these will just go up. I hope not, but.
I'm not sure I fully understand your question, but I mean, the numbers.
I'm saying, why is it down to 107? Is it good news that it's down to 107? Or is it because the project is no longer there that you did, Project Iceberg you mentioned? Or am I reading into it that child pornography is down, thankfully?
I mean, these are the incidents that are reported to us as well. So that's not to say that there aren't other, and we know that there are other incidents that are happening. These are the ones that have been reported to us. If you look at 2014 as an example, there were 61 incidents. So in 2018, there were 107. You know, obviously with internet and the ability with smartphones, the opportunity is certainly there for individuals to commit these heinous crimes. So, you know, I think provincially, I think we're trending upwards, and we may see the same thing occur in 2019. One thing as well, the investigations are typically fairly lengthy and fairly involved, and so what may be reported in 2016 may carry over into 2017, and 2017 could carry over into 2018. So in some cases, you may see a spike in 1 year in the charges because the investigation may be several months, if not a year long. The charges may not happen until the following year or several months later.
Okay. That's good enough for me on that one.
Any others on the list? Any other board members on that one item? No. There we go.
Okay, Chair, two more. Number 84, the proceeds of crime, please. So I'm going to page 4 on it, Chief, through you, Chair. And the majority, I see the last line in the first paragraph on that page is the majority of these seizures continue to be held awaiting judicial direction on forfeiture. Could you explain to that? I thought it would just be automatic, like on it. Does that mean it's automatic, that you're convicted, so the proceeds of what you got from it goes to the Crown, or?
So that line awaiting judicial direction on forfeiture, so that's as a result of the charges going before the courts, the evidence is heard, and based on the totality of the evidence, the judge can render a decision as to whether or not to direct the forfeiture of the proceeds of crime. It's not an automatic, so there is an onus on behalf of the officers to demonstrate a nexus between the crime that was alleged to have been committed and that the proceeds are a direct relation to that crime being committed.
Okay, well, that answers my question, because I thought it was automatic. If you got something as a result of crime, it automatically goes to the Crown or whatever. But, and further on that, I've got a note here, examples of grant projects. Seizures of, the third paragraph, last line, seizure of cash and other, and other assets forwarded to the SBMD by each police officer are taken into consideration when decisions on granting funds are made. Can you give me some examples of these grant projects that we've received money? And is there any relation, and the answer should be no, but is there any relation to the amount of money that we arrest for or give in to on it determines how much our grant projects are? So there shouldn't be, but I'm just making sure that that is the case. I don't want to put you on the spot. If you want to get back to me another time, that's fine.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I'll get back to you on some of the grant applications that we've put forward. There isn't a direct correlation to the monies that are received through the proceeds of crime grant, but obviously they want to see that police services are utilizing the provisions within the criminal code to seize assets where it's appropriate, and that is obviously taken into consideration when you do apply for a grant.
It is taken into consideration. That's unfair, but in my opinion, like, should have nothing to do with it, but I appreciate your honesty on that. That's all my questions on that item. I have one more, but is there any? Okay, my last one is the stolen or smuggled firearms, number 86. I'm sure, and you won't give me an answer today on this, and I would expect not, but how many firearms were sold in Canada in 2018? I'd just like to get a relationship to this. There must be some stat on it. The federal government must have something on it. Can you get that for us, if it's possible, next meeting, the meeting after? Because I'd just like to have a relation. How many were seized? I mean, do we sell 100,000 firearms in the state? And I know firearm goes from rifle to pistol or whatever, but is that, do you think that would be available? Or in Ontario? This is based on.
I'm sure that, I'm not sure it's available, but I will endeavor to find out whether or not that information is available and report back to the board on it.
In a way, I'd like to also find out if, because of the factor in the States with all the stuff going on down there, that our sales have gone up. So if you have the last couple of years of it, I'd just like to know about that. If we've skyrocketed as a result of the things that have happened in the States with this. So, thank you. Thank you.
I'll have I'll have a question on this one item, then I'll go to other board members on the rest of the report. On the firearms issue, Vive, the question I have, the seized firearms are not always ones that are seized at the border. They could be seized by our officers in the normal course of a traffic stop somewhere in the region, or an investigation at somebody's home and find a weapon that is not owned by that person or something of that nature. Is that correct?
That's correct. Certainly a number of the guns seized do come from the Canada Border Services Agency when they're seized at the border, but the majority of the firearms are a result of investigations that are conducted either with the assistance of the Provincial Weapons and Enforcement Unit or by our own officers here within the Niagara Regional Police.
Okay, thank you. Other board members on the consent, any item numbers? Member Stewart?
Thank you, Chair, and through you, item 76. On page 2, I'm just wanting to know what is the difference between what we call the pre-hires, or the 13 pre-hires that the board has authorized, and recruit officers in training. Is there a difference between those two categories of people?
Depending on where they are in their journey through the recruiting process, it could be somebody that is captured while they're at the Ontario Police College, or it could be while they're a fourth-class constable back from the police college and assigned to a coach officer. But that pre-hire number of 13 is included in that overall number.
In which overall number?
So 1,009 plus the 13? Okay. They're part of the 717 number that's included there?
Right. So 13 is in that?
Yes, that's correct.
So it would be like in the 546. Because when I'm kind of adding it up, I'm trying to make some sense of it here, and I'm not understanding it correctly. It's almost to me like we should have the 13 under authorized. We've authorized 13 pre-hires. Could we have them under the authorized, and then as they're hired and recruited and trained, and then they move up? Because the 8, I'm guessing, is it a coincidence that there were 8 people that graduated last night and there's 8 on that list?
Well, I mean, it's a snapshot, so it's on a particular day. When the report was created, there were 8 recruit officers in training at that point in time.
Yeah. Well, just seeing that 8 would get us, the constables, back up to our authorized strength in constables. I'm thinking, or I'm misunderstanding this report.
I'm going to have Lisa provide some clarity on the report.
Thank you.
So we don't include the 13 pre-hires in the authorized strength. We also don't include the ones we go above and beyond. So if you look at the 716, we're 1 over, but with the pre-hires, we're allowed to be 13 over, and we are not 13 over right now. We're short. We didn't have enough hires in, we've had actually more retirements than we expected. That's our biggest issue this year, is we definitely had more retirements than we predicted. So that is our issue this year. So we are actually short, on this date, we were actually short 12, if we include the 13 pre-hires. We're actually short 12 officers. So you're right, we could include the extra 7 within the pre-hires. Okay.
Any other items, board members? Member McKendrick?
Just not a question, more of a comment on number 80, the use of force reports. I just wanted to mention that stood out to me, and I think that I wanted to bring attention to the fact that there was a decrease in use of force reports while there was an increase in the number of armed subject encounters, and I find that compelling, with decreased use of force but increased risk to our service. And I think that deserves recognition and appreciation of the effort and attention that's being given to de-escalation techniques other than use of force. So just wanted to comment on that, and thank you.
Thanks very much, and you know, kudos goes to our training unit. They do a really great job of putting our officers through scenarios that really reinforce the de-escalation component. So I'll make sure that gets passed along to them. Thank you.
And I would echo those comments as well. When I went through this, I also looked at even on the firearms discharge is a decreased number from the previous year and even the year before that. So it's speaks well for our service, the training and the temperament of our officers out there and how they deal with everyday life in the region. So, any other items from board members? Okay, show of hands in favor of the consent component. Thank you. So that item is carried. We're up to number 88, which is an operating budget indirect allocation. There's a report before us. The motion is the board formally requests the Niagara region to commit to the development of a service level agreement and the costs indirectly allocated by the Niagara Regional Police Service by the region. I need a mover and seconder, please. Vice Chair Steele, seconded by Member McKendrick. Discussion on the item. Member D'Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just possibly a question, but some comments here. Just when we're going through this process, when the service is going through this process, developing the agreement, are they going to be looking at the delivery of a timely service and the cost effectiveness? I know there's a chart in the appendix at the back of the report that details the portion that's allocated to the NRPS. Like, do we use all these items, and how is that percentage that's allocated to us derived? Is it the actual time that's spent by the Niagara Regional staffing, or do they just allocate something? I just, like, there's one here, an example, the print services, right? They allocate 0.3%, $739. Do we actually use print services from them? Is that the detail that the service is going to go through, and with this agreement, take out anything or look at opportunities of getting that service elsewhere if it's more cost effective? Basically, that's my question.
Chief, or?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll start. I may turn to Lisa for some additional clarification. My understanding is that this report that you have, the table that's accompanied it, is almost exclusively all of the information that we get from the region with regards to the costs that are allocated to us. There's not a lot of detail that the board or our service members are provided in terms of what we're being charged by the region. I think what we're hoping to achieve through this agreement is to have a better understanding of role clarity and who's responsible for what, and if that could result in discussions about whether or not it could be done at a cheaper price by sourcing it out to elsewhere. that's a possibility as well, that we could go down that road. Bearing in mind collective agreements and whatnot.
Just to follow up, Mr. Chair, through you. No, I would agree with that. It's, I'm just concerned that we're getting the service, and I know the region's gone through, I think it's called EMFS. Yeah, they instituted that, so I'm hoping that they provide more detailed in how they're coming up with these numbers so that we're actually being charged for what is appropriate for us here at the service.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I know that in the past, we've had members from regional staff come to answer any specific questions about a particular area that's included on the chart, to provide some additional details about the cost drivers. And if that's something the board wants, something I'll leave to your discretion.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. But the other question I just had in terms of the other component is the debt charges. My only question, and I don't know if the regional policy has changed, but there will be a disposition of property when the new St. Catharines District building's built. Is the police service board or the service going to get allocation for the sale of the property to reduce debt charges that will be moving forward? Is that something that's being looked at from the staff perspective? Through you, Mr. Chair.
Through you, Mr. Chair, my understanding is that the cost associated from any police facility that's sold goes back to the region, and it doesn't get allocated back to the police service.
Okay, just to follow up with that, Mr. Chair, I know the dollars would go back to the region, but I'm just wondering if we get a credit towards our debt charges going into the future. Okay, I see an answer, no.
That's a no.
And that has been an issue for quite a while, and that came up even with the Grimsby building.
Okay, I
And
think
I'm
that's
sure it'll-
something that the board still needs to work on and look at and not let disappear. Thanks.
Member Stewart.
Well, I guess it's nice to have Henry back, because I have been fighting this since 2009 when it was called chargebacks, and they changed the name of it and made it even more. I would like to add one other area, and I've added it before, but I'll just bring it up again, and that's the area of payroll. I mean, we have our own finance department at the police. We have our own HR department who do a lot of the work on payroll and submit it to the region. And yet, $420,000 for basically 1,000 employees is a lot of money per employee per year just to have them paid. And I checked into somebody I know that does it for private industry, and that includes T4 slips, includes everything for employees, and it works out to about $60 to $70 an employee. So we're being allocated an amount by the region, and I almost feel that someday, somewhere at the region, they might turn around to these departments and make them compete for the business. That happened in education years ago with the print department. They were going to get rid of it, but a lot of us who were principals in the schools really liked having the print department. And the guys who ran it said, look, we'll run it as a business within the board. And if we don't get enough business, we'll lay off people, we'll do whatever to compete with us going outside. And the model worked really well. And I wonder if at some time, somewhere, the region might look at that and say that if any of the agencies, boards, and commissions can do something, it would challenge them to be more efficient, and in the end, it reduces the total bill. But right now, like, that one always stuck out at me, and I'm thinking over $400 per employee just to pay them. It's not their salary, it's just the process. That's a lot of money, I think, for that. So hopefully that. And just to follow up for Henry saying, I fought the thing on Grimsby for a long time because we built that building for about $4 million. They sold the old building for $1 million, yet we never got any credit. And I even said one time, and they said, well, I guess it'd be easy just to credit your debt with the sale of the other building. You don't have to give us the money, but just sort of like when you move from a house, you take your equity with you. But oh no, it went into the general pot. That was regional policy, went into the general pot for capital monies. and yet they still bill us for anything new. Just always graded me wrong, but nonetheless, in all the years, I haven't made any headway on that one. So, anyway, just because you brought it up again, Henry, I'll say my piece.
Chief?
I know that Lisa wanted to provide a comment with respect to the payroll.
So, you know I don't like to disagree with you. But in this case, I'm not disagreeing that it is a lot of money. It is definitely a lot of money, but I need to clarify because it probably isn't clear here. It shows it as HR and it shows payroll, and I'm gonna, Curtis will note it for next year. These are not just payroll services. These are the entire HRIS system. So it includes from hiring an employee to retiring an employee. So it includes the training, the benefits, the performance appraisals, all the work, all the system actually manage our entire payroll system and our entire human resource system from cradle to grave, from when they're hired till then when they're retired. And the HR is really relying on this. We actually get a lot of our reports from here. So $420,000 does seem like a lot of money, but to get what we're getting, I don't know if we could get it on our own. We got a PeopleSoft, which is one of the top grade products that you can have out there, and I'm not sure if we could get these same type of services for $420,000 on our own. We definitely need the region in there with us. It also has our time and attendance system, our recent advanced scheduler system, and even the city of St. Catharines has come on to the region's chrono system because they can't get it on their own. So it is the one area I think that we definitely would need the services of the region. I have to say that over the years, so the 15 years, our relationship with the region on these items has been better. So just recently, the Human Resource Department came over and met with us this week to talk about the future. So HR is the one area we actually have a little input into. Where are we going with this? Where are we taking this? What do you guys want to see? So it is the one area that we actually have input in. The other areas we don't have as much input in, but we are meeting more often with them. Property management is another one. We started quarterly meetings with their new team that they have, and it's working out much better. So, but HR, it's a lot of money, but I'm not sure if we could get the same quality of product on our own that we get with the region. That's my only concern.
Member Gale?
Thank you, Chair, and to his credit, Member Stewart has brought this up every year on payroll and that, and it is a lot of money, and I'm going to trust through you, Chair, and through you, Chief, to Lisa, that you're going to have a better description in the function box and the cost driver box next year on this, because it only, on this human resources, it only relates to payroll, it looks like on it, and the way you've explained it, I get it. My question through you, Chair, is can we get the last couple of years of the allocated on that item? Has it gone down, or do you have that number? And again, I'm not putting you on the spot now, but I'd like to have it over the last couple of years on this. The 420, because I'm thinking with, my first question when I put it in here was, I thought it was directly just payroll and checks, and I was thinking it should go down with direct deposit. Now with the other services, I still would like to know what the allocated amount, was it 410 last year or whatever? So for the last couple of years, can we get that?
I don't have it here, but we can report back to you.
Appreciate that, thank you.
So we need a show of hands on that. Thank you. So that matter is dealt with. Number 89 is the Versaterm Computer Dispatch Annual Maintenance and Support Agreement. I need a mover and seconder, please, on that. Member McKendrick, Member Stewart. Any discussion on this item? I have a couple of comments. I see we're looking at about a 3%. Is there somebody here from IT to, okay, thank you. I see we're looking at, again, a 3% increase. I'll ask it just for point of reference. We have no other option but to use Versaterm, is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the 3% increase is something that is built within the contract that we have with Versaterm. There's really only one other records management system that is available to us, and the cost would be very, very prohibitive for us to go down that road of embarking on a new records management system.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from board members on the item? Show of hands in favor? Thank you. So that item is dealt with. Number 90 is a special fund request for the motorcycle ride for Dad. Need a mover and seconder to put that on the floor. Member Stewart, seconded by Vice Chair Steele. Any comments and questions on that? So I would like to this morning call forward a member of the motorcycle ride for Dad. I believe we're going to have a presentation from our contribution of previous years. So I just wanted to make some comments on this program. I have been involved in this for a number of years. My involvement has taken me to the bronze level of motorcycling. It's something I look forward to participating in, as well as some of the other members that I ride with here in Niagara. This is something that is supported, I think, pretty well by most police services Ontario. It has a national following now. It was started, if I recall, by a police officer in Ottawa over 20 years ago. Okay, so it's getting up there. I know in past, Niagara has always been a big supporter. It starts in Niagara-on-the-Lake as the starting point. It tours through the Niagara region. Usually upwards of over 100 participants. Last few years, just over 200. So it's a large group. It's certainly something worthwhile. I think one of the things that is always made clear, because there's always a medical professional at our kickoff, is basically for the male audience is to get tested. Prostate cancer is a serious disease, and if it's caught early enough, success rate in eradication is up there. So any questions from board members on this? It's a special fund request, similar to what we did last year. Not seeing any. A show of hands in favor. So again, thank you very much. Oh, Chief.
I just wanted to echo your comments and particularly thank Matt King and Jeff Latham, who are co-chairs and have been a big supporters of this ride for Dad, and again, they're involved this year. So we thank them for their ongoing contributions to this very worthwhile cause.
Thank you. Next item is in the supplemental agenda, which is item number 91, which is the audited financial statements and the service report from Deloitte, right?
It's a service report. Deloitte's not presenting.
Okay. So Chief, I'll turn that over to you. Do I have this?
You should have.
Oh, here it is. Got it. Got it.
We're talking report number 91? Okay.
Yeah, that's the Deloitte, audited financial statements from Deloitte.
So,
I know it's their document, isn't it? Yeah.
well, they're
It's in the
documented companies
supplemental.
that, yeah. So I will turn over to Lisa if you have any particular questions. The report is quite self-explanatory, but if there are any specific questions, I would direct them to Lisa.
So I'll need a mover and seconder, please. Vice Chair Steele, Member McKendrick. The motion is that the board approves the draft financial statements for operations from Niagara Regional Police Services for the year ending December 2018. And further, that the board approve the audited financial statements, and further, the board approve the draft statements and receipts and disbursements, bank balances, and available fund balances for the special operating and general operating accounts for the year ending December 31st, 2018. We have a mover and seconder. Any questions from board members on this? It's quite straightforward from years past. So show of hands in favor. Thank you. The next item is number 92, which is the committee representation. This is a report from our executive director. As you know, every year we pick chairs for our different committees. Again, it's in front of you. I would need a mover and seconder, please, for this. Moved by Member DeAngela, seconded by Member Stewart. Reasonably self-explanatory. I thank board members for volunteering or volunteering. The subcommittees are an important part of our operation and are instrumental in moving the board's agenda forward. Any comments from any members? Show of hands in favor. Thank you very much. And the last item was the in-camera report back, which is basically C61. It's received for information. I need a mover and seconder, please. Member Stewart, Member DeAngela, Member Gale.
Thank you, Jerry. I just want to make sure, as if for any members of the public that read this item, this is just a vote to bring this into public. It's, I'm proud of the chief on what he's done with the armored vehicle and that, but my vote against this was that I thought it should not be sole sourced. So again, chief, good job on the arrangements you've made for this item. Thank you.
Okay, so basically it's a report back on the board's decision as such. So show of hands in favor, please. Okay, so that matter is carried. I don't have anything additional to add. Chief, is there any last-minute items for the public agenda that you're aware of from yourself?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, so we are adjourned. Thank you very much. We'll take a break for about 15 minutes, and we'll then move into the confidential component of the meeting. Thank you.